this is Ryan George from the thing you're currently watching. Please enjoy this pitch meeting for Wonder Woman that I made several years ago, and then stick around after as I talk about it and things. While you're doing that, I'm gonna draw Chris Pine.
So you have a Wonder Woman script for me? Yes, sir, I do. So we're gonna see Diana as a little girl on Themyscira, which is an island full of badass warrior women. And they all have this sacred duty to protect mankind. Very cool. Yeah. It's too bad I'm gonna have to give them all silly accents. What? Well, Gal Gadot can't really do any other accents than her own, so we're gonna have to, you know, make everyone talk a little silly. Well, what kind of accent are we talking here? Not gonna lie, it's gonna sound a little like Borat. My wife. Very nice, Diana, I like. All right, so anyway, Diana's mom tells her all about this god named Ares that killed all the other gods and wants men to destroy each other. Okay. And Zeus left the Amazons with a weapon powerful enough to kill a god. And there's also gonna be a lot of talk about how Diana can't know who she truly is. So is Diana the god killer? Well, yeah, damn it. Sorry, was that a twist? Yeah, it's like a big twist later. Is it that obvious? Oh yeah. Oh well, maybe it'll surprise some people. Nah, damn. But wait, if Diana's mom doesn't want her to find out who she truly is, why does she even tell her about Ares and a god killer in the first place? Well, she tells her that this sword is the god killer. Okay, but instead of doing that, why not just not tell her about any of it at all? Well, because I have to have Diana learn this stuff for the movie's plot to happen. Couldn't she stumble upon some ancient text or something, instead of having the one person who doesn't want her to look into this stuff be the one to tell her all about this stuff? Right, I guess that would make more sense, but I want to have these cool drawings show up on the screen while she's explaining it. Oh, that sounds cool. Okay, keep it like that. Great. So anyway, one day Diana's looking out to sea and she sees a guy named Steve Trevor crash his plane and then she saves him. Did you have anyone in mind to play him? Maybe we could get one of those hot Chris's? Oh, which one? Chris Pratt? He's Marvel. Chris Hemsworth? Also Marvel. Chris Evans? He's Marvel. Chris Nolan? He's a director. Chris Plummer? That's an old guy. Christina Applegate? That's a woman. Christmas? That's a holiday. Chris Christie? Politician. Christian Mingle? Dating website? Well, maybe that Star Trek guy. Chris Maple? Wrong tree. Chris Xanthemum? That's a flower. Chris Pine? That's the one. Oh yeah, I could get Chris Pine. We're actually good friends. Well, great. So anyway, this guy's being chased by some Germans. Uh-oh. And then Steve tells them about World War I. They don't know about World War I? Apparently not. Isn't it their sacred duty to protect mankind? You'd think they'd stay up to date with like weapons and world conflicts. You'd think so, but it seems like they were more focused on doing like backflips and stuff. Fair enough, backflips are tight. They're really good at backflips. Well, that's great. So Steve also tells them about these two bad guys, Ludendorff and Dr. Poison, who made some really deadly gas. What's their backstory? They're evil. Ooh, that's good. So Diana decides that Ares is causing World War I and she wants to go with Steve to end it. I have to say, it's pretty cool to have a man land on an island where it's all women and not fall into the territory of like immature sex jokes. And before they leave, she's gonna see his penis. Okay, right, there it is. And she's never seen one before, so it's funny. Yeah, I got it. So Steve must be like losing his mind finding out that gods are real. Not really, he's kind of like, huh, that's neat. Well, he's not wrong. So they're gonna go to London together to tell Steve's bosses about the gas. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's no time to waste. No, there's not. But we are gonna have a fun little shopping montage where she tries on some dresses. Shopping montages are fun. Are some of the dresses gonna be silly? Some of them are gonna be silly. That is fresh. Also, some German spies are gonna try to kill Steve. Uh-oh. Yeah, but Steve and Diana are gonna knock them all unconscious except for one. What happens to him? Well, Wonder Woman tries to question him, but he kills himself with cyanide. Oh, well, there are other guys that are just unconscious so she can question them, right? Yeah, I guess so. But she's not gonna do that. Oh, so then Diana and Steve present their information to the government people and they're like, we have to do something, and the government people are like, meh. So are they gonna take matters into their own hands? They're gonna take matters into their own hands. Taking matters into your own hands is tight. Yeah, so Steve's gonna assemble a crack team of soldiers, and what's interesting about them is that none of them have character arcs. Oh, what do you mean? Well, for example, one of them's gonna have PTSD and not be able to fire a shot, and we're not gonna pay that off in the end by having him overcome it and take an important shot. Nope. Interesting choice. So then they're gonna go to No Man's Land. What's that? It's a place where soldiers haven't been able to gain an inch of ground because there are a bunch of Germans with machine guns. Okay. So Wonder Woman steps out and they all start shooting at her. Wow. So Steve is like, she's taking all the fire, let's go. Won't the Germans just start shooting at other people too? They will not. They're very focused at pointing all their firepower at this half-naked woman. Oh, and do any of the bullets hit her? Not one. They all seem to shoot at her at shoulder level, so it's easy to block. What a weird strategy. And then her and Steve are gonna save a small town together. I gotta say, it's refreshing to have a man and a woman working together in this movie without all the romantic stuff you usually see, and then her and Steve are gonna bone. Oh, they are? Yeah. And from there, everything's gonna get real silly. How so? Well, like they find out that Ludendorff is throwing a big party, right? Right. And Steve gets in by speaking English with a German accent, and accent pretending like he lost his invitation. Oh, that is silly. Yeah, well I mean there is this thing in movies called the translation convention where foreign characters speak to each other in English just as kind of a way to avoid subtitles. Yeah, I mean that'd be okay, but we are gonna have subtitles in other parts of the movie. Oh, yeah, and German soldiers are gonna yell at each other in German, so it's a thing. So Steve is really just using the fact that the German high command speak English to each other as a way to move the plot forward. Right, and so then Wonder Woman is also gonna sneak into the party after forcibly undressing a woman and leaving her in the woods. And she's not even gonna try to do an accent. Oh, does she get caught? No, she's gonna slow dance with Ludendorff, and unprompted, he's gonna start talking about Greek gods. Why would he do that? Yeah, it's super unnatural, but I want the audience to think he's Ares. Ah. So then Ludendorff is gonna gas the small town from earlier, and Wonder Woman's gonna get mad. Not very nice of him. And then she's gonna kill him and be kind of devastated that the whole war doesn't just come to an end after he dies. Oh, that's actually good. We'll have her realize that not all men are good and everyone's to blame in war, and then the real Ares is gonna show up. Oh, it seemed like you had a really cool message going. Yeah, but then I didn't. Right. And so it turns out that this whole time Ares was this mustache government guy, Sir Patrick. Wow, well what happens next? They're gonna have a huge fight and use crazy powers and throw stuff at each other and pew 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 and lights and pew. What are Diana's powers exactly? We're gonna keep it really vague, so anytime she does something, people will be like, oh, I guess she can do that. Smart. And then Steve Rogers is gonna sacrifice himself in an airplane. Did you say Steve Rogers? Nope, and so then Wonder Woman levels up thanks to the power of love. Wow. And Ares is gonna be like, I will destroy you. I mean, you're gonna come up with a better line than that, right? Uh-huh, yep. I will. And then what happens? Well, then she's gonna kill Ares and the whole war is gonna stop. So it really was all the fault of Ares. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that kind of trivialize the significance of World War I? Maybe. And how does it end? Diana's gonna fly away. It's gonna be really nice. Oh, she can fly now. Sure, why not? Very cool. So what do you think? Well, I feel like it's really significant that we're doing a female-led superhero film, you know? Yeah, we're making big strides. Exactly. It's about time that women get equal treatment in Hollywood, and it starts with us. Hey, did you forget something? Yeah, super easy, barely an inconvenience. What? I was getting in my car and I just had this huge urge that I should come back and say that to you. What does it mean though? I don't know, I just felt like people would get mad if I didn't say that. What people? I don't know.
Alright, so you probably suspected I was just gonna draw a pine tree named Chris, and that is what I did, but what I bet you weren't expecting was a fir tree named Lucas with a K. Yeah, 2-for-1 tree deal. Big surprise moment. So I have to admit, before I rewatched this pitch meeting, I saw how long it was and how old it was, and I was like, oh, I probably didn't do too good on this one. But I'm actually pretty happy with this one. I would have sped some stuff up. I say that every time. I completely forgot about the Chris exchange, and I love writing back and forths like that. And actually rewatching this, I think it just kind of clicked what I was kind of trying to emulate without even realizing it. This is going to be a deep cut, but based on the comment section on that Derek comedy video that I sent people over to in a recent pitch meeting, you guys are okay with being sent to deep cut YouTube videos. And so, like Derek comedy was a huge inspiration for me, so were BriTANick. Some of the best sketch comedy videos that have ever been uploaded to YouTube, delightful guys that I got to meet and fanboy over this year. And rewatching this Chris back and forth thing of mine, I'm realizing I think it was very inspired by a very specific one of their sketches called A Monologue for Three. It's actually a sequel to another video of theirs called A Monologue for Thee, but 3 is more fast-paced. I think it's more what I was doing here. It's just a similar fast-paced back and forth style trying to figure out something together, I guess. Anyway, I recommend watching that video and all their stuff. They are fantastic. Another thing about this pitch meeting, and I probably could have added another 5 minutes to this pitch meeting just talking about this thing. It broke my brain when I saw Wonder Woman. The whole speaking English with a German accent thing just, it broke me. It's just so insane that the movie establishes that Germans speak German to each other and then they infiltrate an event by speaking English with a German accent. How did that work? What if anyone had spoken German to them? What if a single person at this event full of German people had said something in German to Steve Trevor? It's obviously a thing that happens a lot in American movies where characters shouldn't technically be speaking English to each other, but they do, so the audience can understand without having to read subtitles. Parce que parfois, quand tu lis des sous-titres sur l'écran, ça peut distraire et tu manques des détails sur l'écran comme mettons, maintenant j'ai les yeux croisés, tu t'en es peut-être pas rendu compte. Sorry, I had to bust out the French Canadian to prove a point. was exhausting. The movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise actually, I think, handles the whole translation convention in a really cool way, where the movie starts with Tom Cruise doing like a VO in German, and then that kind of fades into him doing the same VO but in English, so the audience is like, okay, so we're doing this. Number 9, and last bit about this pitch meeting, that whole thing at the end with the coming back and saying super easy, barely an inconvenience, that's because I legitimately forgot to put that in the script. It was a legitimate mistake that led to this bit that people bring up to me a lot, so it ended up working out. Question time. Hey Ryan, very kind words, and then I wanted to ask, how do you handle your free time guilt? One of my greatest problems is feeling guilty chilling out because I could be working right now. This is a really good question and something that I think most creative people deal with all the time. I'm sure this also applies to things outside creative work, but it's tough to disconnect. What I try to remind myself, mostly unsuccessfully, is some advice I heard about creativity that I have no idea where it came from. I apologize to whoever came up with this. But, with creative works, what we're doing is taking elements of truth from life experience and using whatever our medium is and making something out of it, some kind of output. I try to remind myself that you need that input to be able to make an output. In other words, you gotta live life a little if you want some of that raw material that you can then use in your creative work, whether it's experiencing emotions or even video games, books, traveling, whatever. So when I'm feeling that guilt, I try to remind myself of that. Okay, I'm in an input phase. The tricky part is to not use that as an excuse to scroll on TikTok for 5 hours, but it helps a little. Kind words, and then question, do you actually not wear pants when recording like you joked in the pitch meeting? Or do you just wear whatever breeches you happen to be wearing that day? Or do you have dedicated pantaloons to each character even though they're not on camera? More kind words. I guess consider this my YouTuber apology. That was a lie. I'm not recording in underwear. I do wear pants while recording or shorts or whatever. If it's any consolation, they never ever match the top. It's usually sweatpants, but there's actually a legitimate reason why I do wear pants. I need something with loose pockets because of how I record my sound. I use this little Tascam thingy that doesn't have a clip, like a belt clip or anything, so it needs to slide into my pocket. If it wasn't for this thing, I would be fully half naked. Very kind words, and then anyway, my question is fruit candy or chocolate? I'm a chocolate man from way back when. It is kind of funny that I stumbled upon this question though, because I was on a podcast recently and I brought up Terry's Chocolate Orange, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with. I had the honor of being on Joe Posnanski's podcast Holiday Draft, where every year they do like a draft of holiday-related things. Other guests on the podcast included Nick Offerman and Mike Schur. I tried my best not to be starstruck the whole time. My first pick in the draft was Terry's Chocolate Orange, which sent Mike Schur on a downward spiral. He spent the next 2 hours researching Terry's Chocolate Orange and hating the concept deeply. My first encounter with one of my comedy idols, and I broke his brain with the existence of a fruity chocolate treat. He did not like learning that these things exist, but I still stand by it. I love whacking a chocolate orange against the wall. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.